After talking to his mother, Ranvir went up the stairs with the car keys in his fingers. Mahi was getting ready to go to the party. She was wearing a dark blue-colored sari. She was looking very beautiful in the sari. She had made a hairband and was wearing a beautiful diamond necklace on her neck. Ranvir had made it by giving a special order. When Ranvir came to the room, Mahi was wearing earrings in her ears. Ranvir's steps stopped when he saw Mahi. After seeing Mahi, Ranvir said to himself, "Oh, how can anyone control himself now? This girl will kill me one day." When he slowly walked towards Mahi, he didn't even realize. Mahi saw Ranvir standing behind her in the mirror. He was looking at her with a lot of longing eyes. Seeing him like this, Mahi blushed and lowered her eyes. Ranvir took the earrings from her hands and started wearing it. As soon as Ranvir's cold fingers touched Mahi's ears, a headband ran through Mahi's body. Ranvir held her by the shoulder and put it in front of him, and filled her head with vermilion from the box of vermilion. Ranvir liked to see his name on Mahi's head, which made him realize again and again that Mahi is only his now. Mahi then looked up at Ranvir and said, "You also get ready, otherwise we will be late." Saying this, she started leaving. So Ranvir pulled her back to him and put his lips on her neck. Mahi felt her heartbeat increasing. She closed her eyes tightly. Ranvir kissed her on the neck and said in his seductive tone, "You are looking so gorgeous." Then he looked into her eyes and said, "If I lose my control today, so you won't be able to stop me." Mahi was not able to understand how to handle this situation. She tried to get rid of Ranvir's grip and said, "I had some important work with my mother, I'll be right back. By then you get ready." Ranvir looked at her with his eyes closed and thought, "My little wife is making excuses to escape from me. Doesn't she know that it's not that easy to lie to Ranvir?" Ranvir said to her, "By the way, what work do you have with your mother? I want to know." Mahi was not able to understand Ranvir's question. What should she say now? She said, "It's an important work. I can't tell you everything." Ranvir said, "Okay, go." Saying this, she bit Mahi's neck. Mahi said, "Why do you always bite me?" Saying this, Mahi touched her neck to the place where Ranvir had just bitten her. Ranvir said with a smile, "Because you look very delicious to me. And one day I will eat you whole." Saying this, she put on her wig and went to the washroom. Mahi opened her mouth and said, "Vampire." After 15 minutes, Ranvir came downstairs. Mahi was sitting with Anita and Sarika in the hall. Sarika was not feeling well, so she was not going to the party. But Rudra had already left for the party. Ranvir also left for the party with Mahi. The party was in a 7-star hotel in Kapur Semper, where the biggest businessmen of the city were also present. The rest of the girls in the party were filled with tears when they saw Ranvir, and they were staring at Mahi with jealous eyes, because Ranvir's marriage broke the hearts of many girls. Every man present there had his eyes on Mahi. Unaware of all this, Mahi was busy looking at the decorations there. She had come to a party with Ranvir for the first time after marriage. At that time, there was someone else who was staring at Mahi with jealous eyes. That was Niharika Shekhawat. She emptied her glass of drink, and with a fake smile on her face, she moved towards Ranvir. Ranvir was playing a game of wine with Mahi on a chair near his table. Mahi was drinking a soft drink. Then Niharika came to Ranvir's table and smiled and said, "Hello Ranvir, can I sit here, if you don't mind?" Ranvir didn't feel good that he was sitting here, but still he said, "Why not? You can sit." As soon as Ranvir said, Niharika moved her chair closer to Ranvir's chair and sat down. Mahi found it very strange that Niharika sat near Ranvir, but Ranvir was completely ignoring Niharika. His entire attention was on Mahi. When Niharika saw Ranvir looking at Mahi, she got very angry, but she didn't want to show it. She said with a fake smile, "Oh Ranvir, won't you introduce me to your wife?" Saying this, she put her hand on Ranvir's hand. Ranvir saw Niharika's hand, which he had kept on Ranvir's hand. Seeing this, his face became a little stiff. His hand was about to shake. That's when his eyes stopped at Mahi's face, on which it was clearly visible that Mahi didn't like Niharika putting her hand on Ranvir's hand. She was looking at Niharika's hand, which she had kept on Ranvir's hand. Ranvir thought of something, and to make Mahi feel more jealous, he put his other hand on Niharika's hand. Then smiling, he said, "Niharika, meet my wife, Mahi." Then Ranvir said to Mahi, "Mahi, this is Ms. Niharika." Mahi was already angry before Niharika's action. But Ranvir's action made her angry. But she didn't want to show her face how bad she was feeling seeing all this. Mahi also said with a fake smile on her face, "Ranvir, you didn't tell them my full name." "No problem, I'll tell them myself. Hello Ms. Niharika, my name is Mahi Ranvir Roy Kapoor." Saying this, he removed Niharika's hand from Ranvir's hand and held Ranvir's hand in his own hand. Hearing Mahi's words, Niharika's face became strange. This was Mahi's first time seeing Ranvir. She was enjoying teasing Mahi more. She flirted with Niharika and said, "By the way Ms. Niharika, you are looking so hot today." Hearing all this from Ranvir's mouth, Niharika was flying in the air. Mahi also started staring at Ranvir. Niharika said shyly, "Ranvir, you are so." Ranvir said, "I am telling you the truth, you are looking so beautiful today. I can't take my eyes off you." Ranvir didn't leave her alone to tease her. Niharika was so happy. She again took Ranvir's hand in her hand and said happily, "Ranvir, will you dance with me?" Now Mahi was getting out of control. She dropped her drink on Niharika's dress and did the show as if it happened by mistake. Niharika, who was still enjoying Ranvir's praises, suddenly jumped up and stood up. And while cleaning her dress said, "Oh my god, my dress is totally ruined." Mahi also said, "Oh, I am so sorry. It happened by mistake." Niharika said, "You go and clean your dress first. Then you have to dance with my hubby." Niharika stared at Mahi with her eyes. And then she made a sad face towards Ranvir and said, "Ranvir, I will be right back. You wait a little." Ranvir, who knew very well that Mahi did all this on purpose. He was falling in love with Mahi's behavior. He was also feeling good that she was jealous of him. He listened to Niharika and said, Yes, you go. I am waiting for you here." After Niharika left, Mahi started staring at Ranvir. Ranvir pretended to be unaware and said, "What happened to you?" Mahi asked Ranvir angrily, "Who is this Niharika? And who is she to you?" Ranvir teased her and asked, "Why? Are you jealous?" Mahi said, "No, why would I be jealous? I was just asking. You didn't answer my question. Was she your friend?" Ranvir said, "She was my girlfriend." Ranvir said this without any expression as if it was something normal for him. As soon as Mahi heard this, she stood up and said angrily, "I have to go home right now." Ranvir gestured her to sit and said, "Okay, but let's wait for some more time. Let Niharika come." Mahi said angrily, "No, I have to go home right now. Are you coming or should I go myself?" Saying this, Mahi left. Ranvir saw her and smiled and shook his head and stood up and followed her. Mahi didn't talk to Ranvir the whole way and kept looking out the window with her mouth open. When she reached her room, Mahi sat in front of the mirror and opened her mouth angrily and started taking out her jewelry. Then Ranvir came to her and held her by the shoulder and said, "What happened? Why are you so angry?" Mahi shook her hand and sat on the bed. Ranvir took off his coat and put it on the sofa and stood in front of Mahi. Then he put his hand in his pocket and looked at Mahi and said, "Are you jealous, Mahi?" Hearing this, Mahi stood up and put her hand on her waist and said, "Why should I be jealous? I don't care if you have 1 or 10 girlfriends." Hearing Mahi's words, Ranvir calmly sat on the bed and said, "Yes, then it's fine. Anyway, I have many affairs left. So, obviously, one or the other girlfriend of mine sometimes collides with me. Mahi looked at Ranvir with surprise and said, "What? You have many girlfriends?" Ranvir said, "Yes, I used to get new girlfriends every week." Ranvir said as if it was normal for him. Now it was difficult for Mahi to tolerate. She cried and said, "I am going to sleep in Ruhi's room. I don't want to live with you in this room." Before Mahi left, Ranvir held her hand and put her on his lap. Mahi tried to get up from Ranvir's lap again and hit Ranvir on the chest and said, "Let me go. I will not live in this room anymore. You live with that Niharika and the other girlfriends." Saying this, tears flowed from her eyes and came to her cheeks. Her face turned red because of crying. But Mahi was looking very cute to Ranvir. She was crying like a child. Ranvir hugged Mahi with a smile and said to her, "Shh, calm down. You are so angry." Then he filled her small face in his palms and said while wiping her tears with his thumb, "All that was old. But since you have come into my life, you are the only one. There is no one else. And there will be no one. And anyway, that Niharika doesn't look like anything to me." Then Mahi said while sobbing, "Next time you meet that Niharika, tell her that you belong only to Mahi." Unknowingly, Mahi was expressing her feelings in front of Ranvir. Mahi is coming close to Ranvir. Will her love be able to change Ranvir? What will Niharika do next? Will she be able to bring Ranvir close to her? To know more, keep listening to Oh Baby only on Love Pulse Diaries.